Josh Jackson Jr. For my teams and everything. What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So a pretty good weekend the past couple of days. So let's get into the big news that happened. So yes, the defensive back for USC, Josh Jackson Jr. had entered the transfer portal pretty much right after that spring game on Saturday. I guess he just figured that he wasn't going to be able to get any playing time with a lot of the talent that's not only coming in now, but that is still there at USC. And he was a guy that was weird because he came in as a pretty highly talented receiver when he did come in from high school, but then he decided to transfer over to the defensive side. And he was okay last year, did some good stuff, started some games and played, but I guess he just hasn't really figured it out yet and he's going to be moving on. So good luck to him, no matter what he does, and we'll see what team he ends up choosing in the near future or so. And then one of the big time entries into the transfer portal when it comes to one of these players from Georgia, his name is Bear Alexander. He's really like a bear. He's like 6'4 plus, almost 300 pounds, if not over. And he plays defensive tackle, which is obviously a need for USC right now. But yes, the other day he did enter the transfer portal, and a lot of places are kind of mentioning his name out there, trending towards USC, which would be pretty freaking awesome, especially add one of the best, if not the best, defensive player in college football on your team. It would just be freaking amazing. So hoping this does come to fruition, but you just never know with a lot of these transfer portal guys. And then yes, a 4-star guard in Silas Damari Jr., who's been pretty much committed to USC basketball for the past couple months or so, but just the other day he did request a release from his NIL deal, National Letter of Intent, for him to not to go to USC anymore because, I don't know, he didn't really say fully, but I'm kind of reading the writing on the wall, as we've mentioned before here, that LeBron James' son, was kind of thinking about USC and heading towards that direction to go play for them this season coming up, and they obviously play similar positions, so I'm not surprised if he already is jumping in. But I did see a report on WeAreSC.com that they mentioned that the player's not coming to USC anymore and they should look at depth in the transfer portal. So they're not officially saying that Bronny James is coming either, but I think the writing is on the wall there that they are going to get the talented James player, and we'll see what he can do. But yeah, losing Silas is a pretty big deal too, in my opinion, especially if you don't end up getting Bronny James. Then Evan Mobley, the ex-USC basketball player, is playing with Cleveland right now in the first round with the New York Knicks. And just before that game, actually the other day, he did find out that he is the top 3 finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, which is pretty awesome because I kind of wonder why I hadn't been seeing much of his offensive stats. But of course, he kind of focused on the defensive side this year, and it's obviously showing true because he's top 3 finalist, which is pretty cool. So congrats to him in his young career. And a couple of transfer guys that have been in the portal or recently entered that I wanted to talk about because they are on the offensive line. Houston offensive lineman, or ex-Houston offensive lineman, Cameron Johnson, recently visited some school. I forget which one, but he did set an official visit to USC as well coming up soon. One of the more talented offensive linemen out there, which is nice for USC. And then also an offensive lineman from Texas A&M in Matthew Wyckoff. Hopefully I'm saying that last name correct, but I kind of liked the idea of him the other day coming to USC from the portal because his ex-coach is now the offensive line coach at USC, and he was very talented as a freshman too, whether it was last year or the year before that. So he's still a very young guy. He will need to start off right away. So you give him another year to get better, and he should be ready to go next season. I think Cameron Johnson might be a guy who, if he's going to transfer, he's going to play right away. USC did lose one of their guys at depth with Cortland Ford entering the portal before the spring game, but I don't know if Cameron Johnson is just going to be given a starting spot. He'll obviously have to earn it, but he seems to be a pretty talented dude. And then some online service did the top 30 college basketball programs in the last 10 years. And apparently they named Duke as the #1 team, even though the past 10 years, trying to think, that would be 2013. So they technically only would have had one national championship. Kind of think if anybody else has won more than that, but like Kentucky, Kansas, all of them were like in the top 5, Gonzaga as well. So I don't know if they're going by like popularity or in the mainstream. I don't know what the heck they were really looking at, but Duke was #1, so that was pretty cool. I was kind of surprised that UCLA was like still top 25, but they were like 23, 24. It was kind of weird because being out here in LA, all you hear is about UCLA basketball and how good they are, but honestly, they haven't really been that good because they have not even won a championship anytime recently, but do have a pretty big history, so I'm pretty sure that's why they're still relevant. Then the Vikings apparently might cut Dalvin Cook, according to this article, which I think would be crazy because he's still a very talented player, especially at that running back position. But obviously, if he's going to get cut, it'd be a cheaper deal for the Chargers to make. I know I talked about one of the last videos about them trying to get DeAndre Hopkins, especially if he gets cut from Arizona. I don't think you should trade for either of these players because you get a younger position in the draft, have them longer and cheaper. But either way, they should definitely be aggressive to go after a couple of these guys because I think pairing Cook with Eckler would be a pretty dynamic duo, in my opinion. And yeah, speaking of the really big good news that happened Sunday, early Sunday noon, where the Lakers were playing the Memphis Grizzlies in Game 1 of the NBA playoffs on the road in Memphis, and it's a pretty tough game. Lakers, I think they led the first quarter, but then they were losing at halftime, and then they used a pretty big end of the third quarter and really good defensive fourth quarter to end up getting this victory on the road, 128-112. All three, there was 4 players with over 20 points for the Lakers, but Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis all had over 20, but Rui Hachimura stepped up, the guy they traded for from Washington, at 29 points and 6 rebounds. That 29 tied Michael Thompson's most points off the bench in Lakers history. I don't know if that was during only the playoffs or during the regular season as well, all their history, but either way, still a pretty big accomplishment because LeBron James and Anthony Davis didn't really have to do that much work going down the stretch, but obviously when AD focuses on defense more, he definitely stepped up and did really good down the stretch. LeBron was making some plays here and there, didn't have to really turn it up, made some nice shots, a nice 3-pointer to get that streak going, because I think they ended the game off on like a 15-0 thing or something like that, run. So that was really nice to see because there's just great defense and then going off to get an easy score, layup, or dunk. But big news was that Memphis's best player, John Morant, did go down with the apparent hand or wrist injury. I know he had it wrapped up before, but he just pretty much landed on it pretty awkwardly and looked like in pain and didn't return in the end of the game. So that's pretty big news in order for the Lakers to advance. I know even Anthony Davis was about to go out early in the first half because he couldn't lift up his shoulder at all. It was kind of weird, and it wasn't really a crazy rough play, but luckily he said he got the feeling back, came out in the second half and was doing pretty good. But yeah, I've got to monitor that as well. But right now, everything does look good. It's great that they were able to steal at least one of these games on the road, depending on what happens, because now you have the home court advantage. As long as you win at home, you're going to advance either way. So definitely looking forward to how this series ends up playing out. But yes, very confident in the Lakers in advancing, and that will get them to either face the Sacramento Kings, who they have struggled against but they've been some pretty good matchups, and or the Golden State Warriors and against Curry, which will pretty much bring out all the Curry and LeBron haters and all their big time rivalry or whatever. But yeah, either way, it'll be a big time matchup in the next round, hoping that the Lakers do get there. And then yes, to end this video off, Blink-182 pretty much crashed like a couple days before Coachella started this last weekend, that they were going to be playing on that Friday night. It's like around 6:40 something or whatever. And they ended up playing a bit longer. They were supposed to be playing like a little bit under an hour, but they played a little bit over an hour, which is pretty cool. It was a great performance. First time they were officially back, the original trio all together. Technically not original trio because there was a different drummer for a couple CDs, but yes, it's pretty much the original true trio of Blink-182. And it was awesome. They sounded great. They kind of weren't, goofing off as much. They did goof off in between, but even playing wise, a lot of times people criticize Tom DeLonge for his playing style and kind of singing wise, but he sounded really good in my opinion. And they only played their main new song. They haven't played any more new, but a lot of the main hits, a lot of songs that they haven't played in a while, because I don't know if Tom DeLonge owns those songs and they weren't able to play them or what, but they just never did, and it was great to hear those songs again as well. But yes, a great all-time performance. I don't know who else was there, or probably don't even know if I even looked up who was playing at Coachella. But yeah, that was a great thing, especially because it was live on YouTube streaming, so I was able to see that for free, which is really nice. But yeah, overall, great performance, and we'll see how their near future holds out. So yeah, thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe, comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Bye down.